I'm Chris Bailey. I work for RSPB Scotland. I've been working for RSPB now for about 16 years in various different places around the UK. Moved to Scotland 6 years ago to take over managing our advisory work. And we work very closely with farmers and landowners to try and help a variety of wildlife. And a lot of my time and my colleagues' time is spent working on what we consider to be priority species and priority habitats. Scotland is a fantastic place in terms of that. Wide range of different species that we're focusing on, ranging from corncrakes, which is sort of the top middle one, through to waders. We're doing lots of work with the farmers and landowners to try and help them and also help the sort of waders, through to the sort of corn bunting in the middle of the bottom there. And we're also working on landscape scale conservation. So it's not just a case of working on our own reserves, we're working off reserves, we're trying to influence the landscapes that we're sort of working in. For those that don't know RSPB, there's about 320 to 350 staff in Scotland. Varies slightly from year to year, but roughly that sort of number. The whole organisation as a whole has just got over 2,500 staff in total. Our headquarters is based down in Bedfordshire, but Scotland's really important from an RSPB perspective in that about 50% of our landholding that we manage is managed in Scotland, and we've got a range of reserves ranging from reserves up in Shetland, running right the way down to Dumfries and Galloway, and a range of different sites and a range of different species and habitats that we're sort of trying to focus on. That does provide us with lots of opportunities in terms of careers, so that you can do work on the reserve side of the house. You could be working in terms of the type of work that I do, which is going out and advising the landowners. We've also got education teams who go out and educate everything from school children up to adults. And we've also got sort of policy teams. And then obviously behind that there's a whole infrastructure of computer systems. So there's a whole range of different job opportunities working within RSPB. Although a vast majority of the jobs are focused on the environmental sector and delivering conservation action on the ground. Just to sort of recap, I mean, in terms of RSPB in agriculture, I guess a lot of people would see RSPB as working primarily with birds. Of course, that's important, and we're increasingly working and thinking about things from a sort of, wider nature perspective, because birds don't just sort of work in isolation. But obviously we can influence what's going on our land, but if we really want to make the biggest differences, we have to try and influence what's going on elsewhere. So we are working with farmers right across the whole of Scotland to try and improve things. 700-800 farmers a year are sort of being influenced directly by the work that RSPB does. So, what are we sort of looking for in terms of employees? It's really hard to sort of pinpoint, I think, into sort of one or two key things. But I do think that overall, what we're always looking for is people that are interested in working in the sort of environmental sector, interested in wildlife, interested in the sort of wider countryside. We do want people that are enthusiastic, and quite honestly, most people that come to work for RSPB want to work for RSPB. It's not a case of they're sort of driven there because they want a job. It's because they really do like working for our organisation. It's a great organisation to work for. Some really enthusiastic people. Communication skills is massively important. It doesn't matter whether you're a warden, whether you do my type of job, whether you work in policy. Being able to communicate the messages that we're sort of trying to get across to our audiences is vastly important. So I think that's always a very important aspect from my perspective. IT skills, clearly if you're going to work in the computer teams, you need fairly advanced IT skills, but for most of our jobs now, you would require the sort of basics. GIS is increasingly becoming important from a sort of perspective in terms of translating what we do on the ground into mapping systems, and then using the mapping systems to sort of help target our conservation work. And then I think I get asked quite a lot often, how would you like to come and work for RSPB? I always sort of start by saying, I was fortunate. I knew somebody. I spent a bit of time volunteering for a variety of different environmental organisations. I began to sort of build up experience, and I gained gained knowledge and gained experiences. But what we're often doing when we're sort of looking at applications is we're sort of comparing the applications against the role profiles. So for every single job, there will be a profile that. So this one, not that you'll be able to read any of it, is basically for our wardens' posts. But every single one basically tries to define the type of jobs, the sort of information that we will be requiring, and the sort of level of skills and knowledge that we would be expecting as a sort of individual when you come for interview. Within RSPB, we're not expecting everybody to have the full package. RSPB does invest an awful lot in its staff, and that's one of the good things about working for us, in that if there is a need for more professional qualifications, we do invest time and effort in making sure our staff are properly supported in doing that. And over a course of a period of time, there are a whole range of different courses, either ones that are sort of in-house courses that we run, through to bespoke courses that we'll go out and find. Depends what the individual needs and wants, but it's always sort of very important in terms of the sort of continual professional development. And then finally, in terms of jobs, all our jobs are advertised on the RSPB network, on the website itself. I do have to warn you, it is competitive. There are a lot of people that are always looking to work within our sector, which is great and fantastic, because it brings so much more to an organisation like ours. So things like volunteering, having some previous experience is always extremely helpful, but not always essential. And there is a clear opportunities within whichever area of RSPB you choose to work in, an opportunity for you to sort of progress up the ranks, should you wish to. Some people, that they just prefer to stay in the jobs that they are currently doing. Others wish to sort of move through the organisation. So, for instance, on our sort of reserve side of things, you would probably start off at a warden level. You then could end up being a senior warden, then you become a site manager, and area manager, and then ultimately you could end up as a regional director, which is exactly what's happened in our South and West region at the moment. So there is clear opportunities for you to progress should you wish to. As I say, volunteering is normally helpful, although not essential. And that's me. Thank you.